Welcome back, you guys. Crosby Show Homes podcast, episode 2. Garrett Crosby here with Kevin Yax, world-renowned lender. Excited to have you back, Kev. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's great to be back. Thank you for having me.
If you're watching the video, please take a moment really quick to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We would love to continue this content. And look, we're here to just educate. You know, we're here to empower you as buyers, as sellers, as investors, into this wonderful world of real estate. So go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and buckle up. Let's get started on episode 2, which I am titling Real Estate Investing 101.
This is a big one.
This is how I got started. So brief, I want to take a minute again, Kevin, just to get our audience sort of, into the know of who we are.
Sure.
So I'm, just to recap, right? So my name's Garrett Crosby. I'm an investor and a real estate agent. I started out as an investor, turned real estate agent when I realized that a lot of the agents I was working with, didn't really educate. They didn't really give me the tools, the techniques on, frankly, what I needed to know so that I could win on my offers when I was starting investing. And so I got my real estate license at first for purely selfish reasons, to help myself get better deals. And in doing so, fast forward, fell in love with it, fell in love with helping people. Helping people get into properties, families get into properties, making great friends along the way. And I found out I was pretty good at it, and being able to negotiate, and also the educator in me found a love for educating people and empowering them so they can make good real estate decisions. Because as we both have experienced, not all real estate decisions people make are good ones. And nope. a lot of the blame falls on industry professionals who are trying to get out there and make a quick buck. And This podcast is simply to educate and to give people the information, the knowledge, the power that they need to be able to make better real estate decisions. So that's my story. Kev, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so thank you for that introduction.
Yeah,
that was
man.
Incredible. So for me, I'm Kevin. I'm the lender. I got into lending because I took a liking to financial advising, which I was doing for New York Life prior to me getting into real estate and lending as well. So financial advising was great, but within financial advising, I found out the true secret to unlocking generational wealth was in investments. Mm-hmm. And that immediately burned, in my memory. And I was like, okay, I love financial advising, but I want to take this experience and my angle and bring it over to the real estate side where you can see true investing.
Right.
And that's a little bit about me.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So today's episode, I am so fired up about this. It is the bread and butter of what got me started and excited about real estate, and that is real estate investing. The financial advisor side, I'm actually really curious kind of what your take is before we even jump in to real estate investing, what your take is on current financial planning that exists in this generation versus generations in the past, right? How does this generation need to plan differently financially for their families, for their kids? What's your take on that as a financial advisor?
I am so happy you asked. So I think what we can look at first is looking at 401ks and seeing how they perform. And then comparing those 401ks and different investments on companies and things that you can't tangibly hold mm-hmm. versus land. Mm-hmm. And what we've seen throughout history is land is king. Mm-hmm. Similar to cash, when we're speaking investment, 90% mm-hmm. of millionaires in America, that's 9 out of 10 millionaires, did it through real estate investments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that stat alone is enough for everybody to understand what this really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is really an interesting thing. If you look up millionaires that exist today, I think a lot of us, especially in the culture we're in, we imagine millionaires as the Jeff Bezoses of the world, right? Billionaires, right? We go straight to the kind of polarizing figures that we know from the media or from social media, whatever it is, whatever outlet you're getting it from. Whoever's loud, whoever is, Elon Musk, whoever's making the most noise. And what's interesting is that if you look at their portfolios, right, even they have so much invested in real estate. But the people who make their millions and are kind of like just the lesser knowns, right, they got there from real estate investing. It is a proven stat. You can go look it up. It's amazing the wealth you can build just from buying and acquiring real estate over the years. And you mentioned also, from a portfolio perspective, you mentioned the 401ks. Mine has completely, like everybody else's right now. It's bottomed out. The stock market hasn't been doing great this year. Hard to know when it's going to stop in, with the recession that's kind of going on right now. Even cryptocurrencies were taking a bit of a hit. I do want to emphasize the fact, though, that it is good to diversify. It still is very good to diversify your funds. So we're going to be talking a lot about real estate today specifically, but that does not mean you shouldn't invest in the stock market. That does not mean you should not invest in a 401k or Roth IRA, cryptocurrencies, etc. I'm invested in all of those things. I believe that it's really good to diversify your funds to protect you and to also give you some more leverage when one is doing better versus another one not doing so well. And of course, we're going to jump into real estate and talk specifically about how real estate performs in moments like right now where we're experiencing a bit of a recession. And I think a lot of people have questions, especially with the real estate market. You're seeing home values start to go down a little bit more as interest rates go up. Everyone's expecting there to be a real estate crash. And, I think everyone gets so tied into real estate equity that they forget about, or they just don't know about, the cash on cash return you can still make in rental properties, in short-term rentals, in the burr method, in the flipping method, these other types of investment methods that exist in real estate that can keep putting cash in your pocket in a passive way, similar to a dividend in stocks, but in a way where it is so much more than dividends and it can be so much more rewarding. So even if your equity in your property is going down, some of us who are invested, myself included, we're not invested for the sake of equity.
No.
Like, equity is such a beautiful, thing of whipped cream and cherry on top. On my real estate investments.
It's a bonus.
It's a bonus. And I really look forward to cashing it in someday, or refinancing and cashing it out, which we're going to talk about today too.
Right. And you said a key word, and that's diversification. And yes, you do want to diversify your investments, but you also want to diversify your real estate investments. And let's go into some of those tactics.
So before anything, let's actually, I want to, and I want to hear it personally. Like, I think one thing I always would take away from listening to real estate podcasts when I was just getting started in investing, right, is oftentimes I was on the other line of the podcast thinking, well, there's no way. Like, I can't, like, these people have been doing it for so long. They're experts. They have this terminology. They have this lingo. They have this language. I am making, X amount a year. I'm sitting around making, $70,000, $80,000 a year, whatever it is, right? I'm renting. I'm whatever it was in my period of my life. And I remember thinking, there's no way I can get into this. And the reality is that, boy, was I wrong. But I want our audience to kind of hear how we got started in investing. And I'm open to having that kind of transparency, because I think a lot of people get trapped when they listen to podcasts. They're like, oh, well, these are people that I can dream of being. And it's like, dude, I got a lot of work to still do on myself. Completely like upfront and honest. I'm just getting started in terms of what my portfolio is going to be.
Absolutely.
I have big plans, but they're tangible because I understand now what it takes to get there. And so I just want to kind of open that up. Do you want to start with just kind of where you're invested, some of your investing plans are in real estate? And I'll just kind of share on my end.
Yeah, sure. And I appreciate that. So one thing I have going for me is I have an investment property that I'm currently renting out. it's a family neighborhood next to a high traffic high school that's really popular. And therefore, I know there's always going to be a desire for rent because there's always going to be families that want to put their kids in that high school. And, the surrounding areas are perfect for children.
Yeah.
So it's, that's a great investment. And then I recently closed on 61 acres in Montana.
Oh, just 61 acres?
Yeah.
Just a small. I mean, Montana's massive.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that is insane. How did you get that deal?
Yeah, so family. So our family immigrated over from Ireland, and they landed in Butte. And so a lot of my family held on to the land, and they kept purchasing property way, way back in the day before Montana was even on a map.
You're kidding. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, we have water rights, mineral rights, all of these great things, but our plan is to, first off, it's a forest. So what we're going to do is we're going to make select cuts to log, and we're going to utilize those logs as, the base for the home.
Wow.
So what we're going to do is there's different methods where you can, hit it with kind of like a flamethrower, these logs, and they make them last over 100 years. It's like an ancient Japanese method.
What the heck?
Yeah, really cool stuff. We've got artesian well, excuse me. So what we're planning on doing is we're going to dig a man-made lake and then fill that up with the well, because there's a table of water underneath the property, and we've dug down to, and we've reached it. So we've got natural spring permanently.
Nice.
So what we're planning on doing is building at least a 6 to 7 bedroom cabin for hunting. It's going to be a destination spot. So the plan is to do an outdoor kitchen as well. That's only ran by
That's crazy. So it's kind of like you're planning for a short-term rental where it's almost like you said, a destination spot, but it's like a hotel destination rental, what we call a short-term rental.
Exactly.
For people to come visit, check in, almost like an Airbnb
Yeah,
situation.
for hunting.
Yeah.
And so what's really cool, my friends have been going to the same hunting grounds since they were little with their dad. And, the dad, he was in a fraternity, and all of his guy friends and their sons all go. And they've been going every year, and they duck hunt in Georgia.
Wow.
So that's where I got the idea from. And they pay, anywhere between 10 to 15 grand per stay for a week.
Wow.
So
I actually looked into that once. My wife is really into, like doing some form of like upscale dude ranch experience, which looks incredible. Like I've priced some of those out, and some of actually were in Montana, I think.
Oh, nice.
And but it's a little bit more done up, right? Because for me, I don't know about you, Kevin, but like I hate camping. Like I absolutely hate camping. It's my least favorite thing. I
prefer glamping.
Yeah, well, 100%. But it's beyond prefer, right? Like, like I do not want to put up a tent. I do not want to do. Because here's the thing, right? Like, I know we're kind of sidebarring here, but like, I want to be completely honest, right? As a husband and a dad, like the role you play in camping is in my opinion the furthest thing from a vacation. Right? Because like, bear with me. First, you have to pack everything in your house to bring, right? Then you have to pack your freaking tent up. You got to load up the car, right? And my wife knows, like, I already hate how much we bring when we go on vacation.
Right.
But like, part of that process is like, okay, but at least like when we bring the kitchen sink and I unload it into the hotel, the Airbnb, whatever it is, it's nice. Like, I can then relax because I am indoors. I've got a shower. I can make food that's not crawling with ants on it. I can control my climate.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
When you arrive at a campsite, right? Okay. You are unpacking everything. And then you get to build your hotel. How fun is that? I'm going to build this freaking tent. And
build your kitchen.
You don't know. Yeah, you build your kitchen. You build your hotel. You hope that there's decent climate that you're going into. If it's raining, have fun doing that in the rain.
A bathroom site.
If it's 110 degrees, have fun doing that in 110. True story. I did this at Kern River a couple times.
Oh, no.
Sometimes at night you get visitors. You never know. Like, is it going to be an ant colony? That happened to us as well. Is it going to be a wild animal? Is it going to be, like you might die. Like you go into camping knowing you might die. And like for me personally, it's like, what a horrendous vacation experience, right? To like go into something and know right off the bat, like, hey, I'm gonna die today, maybe.
A bear could potentially.
Right. But I'll be completely honest with you.
Sure.
The reason why I just loathe it's the work part. Like the packing up of a car, driving, getting to a destination 6 hours away, right? Maybe I'm being dramatic. 2 hours away. I don't know. You get there, unpacking it, and then having to build everything, and then having to make your own food. There's no restaurants.
Oh, no.
You can't go out for dinner.
No.
You can't, like, oh, great. Now I just finished sweating my butt off and, like, getting this tent built. Now I get to plan meals. I get to plan dinner for everybody.
I think you might be like this because you are a real estate agent and it's such a high demand for job.
Yeah.
You always have to perform at 100%. So when you do take time off, you're not looking to work.
Yeah.
You're looking to relax.
Thank you for saying that and trying to help me justify. So, I mean, I know I just made probably like 1 million enemies on the internet today who are like, no, dude, like you're doing it all wrong. Something wrong with you. Like camping's amazing. It's incredible. Don't get me wrong. I love views. Like I love Yosemite. Yosemite's beautiful. I love the sequoias. I love taking a picturesque scene and enjoying the river. I love all the activities, right? I just want to go back to a hotel or an Airbnb cabin afterward and take a shower.
Yeah.
Or get in my bed and not feel like I'm going to have red ants climbing all over my thighs all night. You know what I'm saying?
I get that.
That's what I want.
I got to be honest. For everybody out there, I love camping. My grandfather started a wilderness camp about 4 miles from Canada on the New York border, where you live in tents and you learn how to live off the land. So you start a fire, you create cool. You get a stick, then you create vine.
That's pretty cool.
And then you get the fire going, you blow it into tinder, and
I don't know what to blame, man. It's probably something very psychologically wrong with me. I know, like as a Boy Scout,
you just want to relax. Man.
I had a sleeping bag just threw out in the middle of the desert once, and we slept there overnight, and there's like rats running around us, or like I didn't even know they had desert rats. They're just faster. They're like kangaroos. I don't know. Like
you just want to relax.
It's just horrible.
Because you're right. Camping is work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. On a vacation.
Yeah.
Which I think by definition is like a time to not work.
It is.
Anyway, all right. So real estate investing.
Yeah.
That was a good sidebar.
Yeah.
So okay, I want to talk for me personally. Like, I'll share about my investments a bit. So when I was getting started in this, like I mentioned before, right? I had a 401k. I was invested in cryptos. I was actually doing a bit of day trading as well. So I had long-term stocks. I was invested in ETFs. I was invested in all these things, but I was doing day trading. I was waking up super early, looking at charts, reading books, doing all these things, and it was just so much work, and the returns on investment could sometimes be good, but it also could go dangerously bad at any given moment on any given day. And this is where I had to kind of check myself. And I realized, okay, a couple things about me. Number one, I don't like camping. Number two, I'm not patient enough in a moment to really be able to show that grit if something starts going sour, to wait it out. And the example I'm going to use is like in options trading or in day trading, when you've bought 500 shares of something because all the numbers and the metrics look right. Right. And then out of nowhere, it starts going down and you panic. Right. And it could very well go back up. I was not patient enough to stomach like, okay, I'm down $1,000 right now. 30 seconds ago, I had $1,000. Now I don't, right? And maybe if I wait, I'll have $2,000. But that's if it goes the way I want it to go, or if I wait, I'm going to be down $2,000, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I knew about myself enough to know that, like, okay, this isn't working. It's not healthy. I'm not sleeping well. I'm waking up super early. I'm on the West Coast. We're in Los Angeles, of course. And so I needed to find another way. So I started looking into real estate investing via actually a couple friends I was talking to. I got to give my wife credit too. Like she had turned me on to this thing called BiggerPockets. It's this awesome community. You've heard of them, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
That's basically built for real estate investors and all the different types of real estate investing that exists. And so I started really digging into it. And I let me tell you, I spent so much time reading books, and I've got some amazing resources. I'm happy to share some of those either in the description of this video, or you can reach out to me anytime if you guys are interested in getting into this as well. I'd be happy to have that conversation. But basically, I started digging into it, and I realized, hey, you know what? The numbers from a real estate investment perspective don't only just make sense. They fit the strategy I needed, in that, yes, it takes a little more capital up front, sometimes a lot more capital up front to get started, sometimes not. We'll talk about some strategies today.
Yeah.
But when things start to go south a little bit in the market, right, I'm not going to turn around right now and sell all my rental properties.
Right.
Like, I'm not worried about that.
No.
And the best part is that all my rental properties brought me just under, maybe just this last month, I think I made like $2,000 plus or something in passive income.
That's beautiful.
Not including equity, not including what the appraised values were, not including what I actually got the properties for, right? And some of you are listening to this, you're like, oh, I've been investing a long time in real estate. 2,000 is not a big number. Like I said at the beginning, like this has been a process for me to get started, but I've found the formula that works for me. So for me, I'm invested out of state currently. I've got a few homes that are located in North Carolina. They're buy and hold strategies. We'll talk about those in a minute. The reason I picked North Carolina was actually because at first I was invested in Tennessee, or was about to invest in Tennessee, in specifically not Nashville,
Memphis.
Thank you. Yeah. And the reason was similar to what you were saying in terms of your investments, of the location, your first investment area, neighborhood, etc.
Yeah.
I wanted to invest in markets that I knew were economy proof. And so Memphis, people don't know this, it's actually the shipping capital of the United States. FedEx,
wow.
They all go through there. I think their headquarters is there. And so the demographic from a job perspective, it's shipping. And, what's kind of funny is actually, I think I read an article the other day that FedEx isn't doing too well right now. Yeah. But in the time I was like, oh, well, you know what? From an economic perspective, we're always going to need to ship product. This is a great area to look into. And so I was looking, I was researching. And by the way, I was looking in like every location you could think of: Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, Texas, Florida, different cities, even in California, I was looking too. And I landed in North Carolina in a city called Fayetteville to get started. And the reason I went with Fayetteville was, number one, I ran the numbers for the Memphis property. I ended up getting a contractor to come by, give me a quote on how much it would take to kind of remodel and get it rehabbed. And it was significantly higher than I expected it was going to be. Okay. By the way, was told the number by a real estate agent of what it was probably going to be. And what did you know? It was over double. Yeah. Right. So again, part of that motivating fire of getting myself to become an agent. But I landed in Fayetteville because it's located right next to Fort Bragg. And Fort Bragg is the largest, I'm pretty sure, the largest military institute, or at least one of the largest bases in the entire United States. And so because of that reason, from an economic perspective, we are always going to need a military. I don't care how bad the recession gets. We're going to need a military. And so that means you're going to have active duty military there. You're going to have families that are there. Military families, they typically will move in and maybe they stay for a few years. But during that time period, the military is generally also funding some form of living wage for them to be able to live in their homes, which translates to, I'm always getting a rental check. And even if I don't get a military family, the economy in that area is all fueled by the base. So the people who work there are either working on the base as non-military, but maybe they're serving in cafeterias, or maybe they're serving in schools, or maybe they're serving in entertainment. Who knows what it is? But again, all of those things are being funded by the military. And so to me, I was like, okay, well, this seems to make sense. And so far, it's been beautiful. So far, it's been awesome. The 3 properties that I currently have over there, each has a unique story behind it. And what's really cool is that there's even one story where we got one $25,000 under list. And it ended up appraising when we were in the appraisal process for $25,000 or $30,000 over the price point I got it for. So right out the gate,
you made 30 grand.
I made 30 grand in equity.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that's my personal investment, strategy right now. I am looking next into getting multifamilies going. I'm looking into short-term rentals, especially out here in California. There's a lot of great short-term rental opportunities.
Oh, yes.
Personally, I actually like those more than buy and holds. But let's get into the details. What are the investment strategies you can take in real estate? And I'm going to start off with one I've mentioned a million times already, the buy and hold method. I don't want to talk the whole time, Kevin, but I'll share what this strategy is. You can add to it for our listeners, viewers, and
absolutely
kind of give you a little bit of a perspective. But basically, buy and hold real estate is when you buy a property and you hold it long term. There it is.
Boom.
It's so easy,
simple,
right?
Yeah.
So typically, you're renting these out. They're being rented out for a lease to tenants. A lot of our viewers are probably in a situation where there's a landlord, and that is in the example of buy and hold. Someone owns your property, you're paying them rent every month, and sometimes there's a property manager involved. I believe in property managers because I don't want to have to deal with tenants. I want to focus on time. Time is just as valuable, if not more valuable than money to me. So if I can take 10% off my rents that I collect every month to pay somebody to deal with the tenants, to make sure they're pre-screened, to make sure they're paying on time, to make sure that they're attending to all the little maintenance issues that come up, to me, it's worth it. 100%.
And the big ones.
100%.
Especially being out of state.
Yeah. So that's buy and hold. Anything you want to add to buy and hold in your opinion?
Just to your point, that equity appreciation is that cherry on top. Because and to your point, I like to say that when you're in a landlord situation, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's make it raw. Let's make it hurt and sting. That's exactly what you're doing. You're throwing your money away and paying somebody else's equity in their cherry on top.
And so it feels, this is something where I can understand, whereas a renter, it's hard to hear that.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes we're in circumstances in our lives where you have to
Right.
still do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, when you can get yourself in a position where you realize, because look, at the end of the day, most of these investment properties have some form of mortgage.
Yep.
Most of them do.
Oh, yeah.
The renter or the short-term renter or the flipper or the whatever it is, someone is always paying that mortgage. And then as the landlord, you're getting something called a cash-on-cash return, which is anything above and beyond the mortgage, the expenses of the property, and your property manager. It's that simple. So every month, I'll give you an example. One of my properties, the mortgage is, I think, at it's like $500 a month. Let's just call it that for simplicity. The rent on that property is $1,400 a month. So let's do the math here. Every month, from a just strict revenue, I am making $900. Now, of course, out of that $900, I'm paying $140, 10% every month to my property manager, which lets me sleep at night. I don't have to worry about anything. It's lovely. And then, of course, maintenance issues come up. But here's the beauty about where I'm invested right now. It's amazing how the economies are a little bit different in every state. So, for example, I had a situation come up where I had to get a few appliances replaced and some electrical done. And I'm thinking in California, Los Angeles terms, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be like $3,000,
Yeah.
And the bill came for all this maintenance, and the property manager's like trying to prepare me for it. Again, North Carolina property manager, right? And it ended up being like $650 or $700 for like everything.
Oh my god!
Because out there, again, it's a lower cost of living,
right?
Lower cost for supplies,
right?
And I wasn't prepared for that. But let me tell you something: it felt really good to still cash flow like $200 that month. Still did. So that's buy and hold.
That's incredible.
Next up, we've got something called, that's, again, I'm kind of going based off of what people have heard, but we've got the flipping method, home flipping. Yeah. Everyone hears about this because, of course, their favorite HGTV channels, Chip and Joanna Gaines, all that stuff. And this is a great, very lucrative, quick approach to investing, but the numbers have to line up. Do you have any thoughts on flipping houses?
Yes. If my thoughts are, you want to make sure that you're 51% living in an area that's doesn't require you to pay capital gains. So similar to crypto, the crypto boys and everyone crushing in crypto, a lot of people purchased out in Puerto Rico because you don't have to pay capital gains if you have 51% residence.
Oh,
there.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
To me, it's make sure your residency is correct so you can keep
actually
money.
Getting people in those homes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flipping for me is one of those things where you're going to want to make sure you're, especially when you're getting started, that you're partnering with the right type of people who do this. And I'm going to go ahead and plug them. I don't mind. BiggerPockets.com is an excellent resource for all these investment strategies because you can really get this kind of free community that exists to get other investors' insights, ask questions, and learn. There's great books out there for all of these strategies. But flipping, just like buy and holds, just like these strategies that exist, it really boils down to what your numbers are. But keep in mind, when you're flipping a house, you're basically trying to get a home that is, you're picking up undervalue. It's kind of similar to this other investment strategy called wholesaling, in that what wholesaling is you're kind of acting as a middleman. So you're going out there and trying to find deals, find properties that are essentially almost for sale by owner. And that owner is agreeing to sell you their property for a set amount. And the deal is so good that you as the wholesaler are wholesaling that property to maybe a flipper or another investor who sees the number you're asking, and you're, as the wholesaler, maybe upping the price by $10,000. So you got the property for $400,000. You turn around, you sell it to, or you what's called reassigning it to an investor, and you reassign it for $420,000. There you go. You just made $20,000 wholesaling the property. And that's a pretty popular strategy as well. A lot of people want to get into it. It requires, like all of these strategies, a ton of research, a lot of time. There's no get rich quick scheme in real estate. It just doesn't exist. But the best thing you can do is start by investing in yourself and really learning these strategies and diving in and picking one that kind of interests you and then really attacking it. So flipping, similar to wholesaling, you need to get the property at a low enough amount where it makes sense to put in the money back into it to fix it up, get it to a position where it makes sense with the comps, the comparable properties in the neighborhood, which basically, just so you understand how comps work, you cannot take comps, comparable properties that were sold a year ago, and say, oh, look, see, there was another 3-bed, 2-bath that sold a year ago for $1 million. This one's on the market right now for $850,000. It's probably going to sell for $1 million. How comps work, especially right now with interest rates changing as much as they are, is you really want to look at comps that have sold within the last 2-3 months. A lot of times, agents will look at the last 6 months when they're coming up with a listing price. But the reality is like you need to look at the last 2-3 months, or at least within the trend of where interest rates are changing and where they're going, because that's going to give you a much more realistic approach of understanding what the reality is of a top dollar listing price you could turn around and sell this flip for, if you wanted to actually go forward with it. But there are calculators that exist for flips. There are calculators that exist for buy and holds. For the next method I'm going to talk about, which is the burr strategy, and BiggerPockets again has calculators you can use that you can plug in numbers, and just for fun, you can go on realtor.com, find some listings, throw them in, see what the rentals are in the area, usually renting for, do a little digging, and it's fun. You can throw them in. It's a very user-friendly, interactive calculator experience. I do think you need to pay for some form of membership to have access, but I do those things for fun, just to look at properties, try to find deals, and they exist for every strategy that's out there. So I definitely recommend.
Absolutely. And to your point too, if you're younger, or let's say you're just not financially ready to, purchase a property for an investment, reach out to us, because we'll teach you how to navigate in wholesale, and we have people that'll absolutely purchase, and we can get you employed.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we love educating.
Yep.
Love educating. We love meeting people. We love having the opportunity to kind of empower you with this knowledge, because again, for me, I am doing this solely for the long-term generational wealth I'm trying to build my family. That's it.
Yep.
Bottom line. I'm looking out for my kids, and I know you are too, Kev. So
yeah. We'll do the press release right now. We just found out that we're pregnant with our first. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. And
Dude, congratulations.
Thank you. We have our first doctor's appointment next week to find out the sex and to hear the heartbeat for the first time.
Oh man, I still remember that. That was so wild. So
it's going to be crazy. I'm so excited.
I can't wait to hear about it, man. Yeah. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
So jumping into this other strategy, right? So the burr method, right?
Oh yeah.
So burr stands for you buy a property, okay? You rehab the property, you refinance the property, you rent out the property, and then you repeat the process. Burr, right? That's what it all stands for. And essentially what it is it's imagine flipping a property, right? It's a similar strategy in that you're trying to find these distressed homes. You're trying to rehab them so you can create equity in them. The difference is you're not selling them, right? And there are benefits in that because, of course, if you do flip homes, you're going to get hit with capital gains tax. That's just what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Whereas if you use the burr method, which is also very popular, you're keeping that property, you're refinancing it. And ideally what you're trying to do with your numbers is you're trying to buy a property at a low enough number where the rehab is going to build that property equity up enough where you will then cash out, refinance it, get the money essentially back that you spent on the property in the first place while still giving you that property to hold on to. So just, imagine that. It sounds too good to be true. It is possible to do, but I'm going to warn everybody. It's hard to find these types of deals.
Oh yeah, because of the internet, and everyone's out trying to do these deals as well.
Yeah.
But to your point, this is the think of it this way, because you said it so well, but to somebody who's maybe inexperienced, it's like, whoa, what did you just say? So you buy a home for $500,000, you put $50,000 into it to rehab it. You get it appraised for a cash out refinance. After that appraisal, let's say you put some lipstick on some things and add a pool. Mm-hmm. Now you come back and you've got $120,000. In equity that you've just gained. Yeah. Now you can pull that money out, keep that money that you've just put in to put for the down payment, the closing costs, the rehab as well. Mm-hmm. Now you've got all that liquidity back, and you got a family sliding in to pay your mortgage.
That's right. You rent it out, and at that point, you're still looking for cash flow. So you want to rent it out still above whatever the mortgage is going to be for that home.
Absolutely.
But that's the rental process, right? You rent it out, and then finally, once all said and done, you repeat the process because now you have that equity in hand. You're going to go find the next burr strategy home to go attack. You use that equity and you repeat it. So that's the burr strategy for those of you who are interested. Again, do your research, do your due diligence, really look into these things because it can be risky and mistakes can be made, but it is an awesome way to kind of what I've found is to kind of start leveling up to acquire more properties at a rapid pace. The burr method works really great because you're keeping those properties. They're still yours to use.
Absolutely.
So, wanted to at least talk about that. Short-term rentals, because I know we're also, running a little bit out of time today, but short-term rentals, really quickly, it's very similar to the buy and hold method. The difference is that, at least from my perspective, instead of attacking it and looking at it as long-term rentals, you're looking at long-term, rental rates in a certain city. You're actually going to be researching what the short-term rentals, or in other words, the Airbnbs are really bringing in from a revenue perspective, but not much differently than long-term rentals. Short-term rentals also have property managers. There's property managers that exist for short-term rentals who will manage your Airbnb account, who will get tenants to come in. They'll collect the payments. They'll deal with the back and forth. You need to pay them a little bit more. It's usually between 20 and 25% I've seen.
Yeah.
And that can be expensive. But again, it's all about what it is that you're willing to do. Are you willing to part with money so that you can have time? Or are you willing to part with time so you can keep a little more money? That's what it boils down to. But that's the short-term rental approach. And then, of course, you've got house hacking. Oh, yeah. And I want to make sure we attack this one because this is one of my favorite ways to get started in real estate investing. What house hacking is, and by the way, it exists for rental properties and it exists for home ownership. More common in home ownership because you can run into lease agreement issues with rental properties. But how it works is you, let's say, have enough money to purchase a small, condo. Okay. Or maybe you're able to put a down payment on a duplex. Okay. Both of these options can work. Single family home works too. Any real estate property works. But we'll use the duplex example for now. You use your down payment, you get into the duplex, and you use an FHA loan to do it. Let's go as bare little as you possibly can put down.
Yeah.
That's what you get, okay? FHA loan, you're in the duplex for 3.5% down, and what you're going to do is you're going to rent out the other unit, okay? It's a duplex. There's 2 units. You live in one, and you have renters live in the other, all right? If you want to get crazy and your unit, let's say, has 2 bedrooms, rent out that other bedroom too. Have a roommate. Who cares? Especially if you're young.
Yeah,
who
exactly.
cares? Rent all of those places out. Room, extra unit. The rentals should more than cover your mortgage, right? Usually rentals do. That means you're living in your house that you own for free. That money you're taking, you're storing, you're saving it. Maybe that's the money you put in an ETF stock long-term fund. Maybe that's the money you invest in crypto long-term. Maybe that's the money you save for a year. And here's the craziest part is in a year, you can reuse an FHA loan.
Oh, yeah.
If you lived in that property, because the rule is with FHA, you actually need to live in the property. You can't just invest in the property and not live in it. So this is a fun way you can kind of cheat the system. Use FHA, live in this property, rent it out, repeat the process in a year, and continue to add your units. And guess what? That property you owned before, the one you first got for an FHA down payment, that now you have 2 duplexes, or excuse me, 1 duplex with 2 units. Now both of those are rented out, and now you're cash flowing as well. So that property is not only paying your mortgage, it's cash flowing at a high rate to help pay for your next mortgage that you also could house hack and continue to build up these doors. And this is how people will build massive real estate portfolios, because they are willing to sacrifice maybe living in their own place for a certain number of years, or maybe sharing a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex, whatever it might be, for the sake of being able to have cash flow and for the sake of being able to be completely financially free. And so if you continue to do this, not only are you getting that cash flow, which is great, passive investment returns are amazing. I love those. It is the dividend that exists in stock markets, but presented in real estate, and typically you're going to get a much better return without having to deal with the stress of stocks, or based on how the stocks are doing.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, I wish everybody would house hack. I did mention too that rental properties can also be house hacked. This is something where you need to make sure you're clear on your lease agreement. But if the lease agreement does not specify that you are not allowed to rent out other rooms in the place that you're renting, why not rent out another room?
Exactly.
Rent it out. You know, collect that money, put it towards the rental, or put it in a savings account. And then now you're building up the funds to be able to house hack or buy your own property.
Yep. And you know, there's a way to do loan hacking as well. So let's say you've been in your property for a while, you own it free and clear. Or let's just say you have a mortgage on it. Let's say you've got a big mortgage on your primary residence right now. What you can do is you can, state that you are going to turn that primary residence into an investment, repurchase a new primary, which gives you the least amount down. It gives you the most flexibility when you're in a primary and the best rate. So now we can utilize 75% of whatever that incoming rent is going to be, and use that to offset your debt to income for your next purchase. So that way you'll be able to get qualified on a lending standpoint to do that. Now, let's say you just want to buy an investment property. They do what's called a DSCR loan. So what we can do is, you need 15 to 20% down for that. However, we can utilize all of the income out of those rooms, 100%. For your own income when we calculate debt to income.
And I'm so glad you brought up debt to income, because people don't realize that investment properties actually will help you pre-qualify for more.
Yes, a lot more.
It's another job, you guys. People don't recognize that there's assets and there's liabilities. Your personal property, if you own one and you're living in it on your own, guess what? That's a liability. It's not considered an asset. A car is a liability. It's not considered an asset. Here's what becomes an asset: when you have an investment property that is making you income. That is when it turns from being a liability into becoming an asset. And as long as lenders can see that you have nothing but assets, or more assets than liabilities, that's going to translate to you being able to be pre-qualified for more funds. So that's, I mean, I just kind of want to at least mention that. I know we're out of time. We didn't talk about REITs too much, but REITs essentially, I mean, these are essentially your kind of like your real estate investment trusts, and they're great to get it started if you have a lower amount of funds to jump into real estate right out the gate.
Yeah.
You know, I will say for any of our friends who are listening who are interested in investing, the first step is to make sure you get partnered with an investment friendly agent. There is a difference between agents who know about investing and those who don't.
Yes.
So make sure you partner with those, and they will be partnered with great lenders who are also investment friendly. One quick rapid fire question for you today.
Let's do it.
Just one, and then we'll be one and done.
Let's do it.
Let's see. What's a good one here? How about, can you share a real estate horror story?
Yes. During the refi boom, it was also the purchase boom as well, and house swapping boom. It was just crazy time during 2020 and 2021. But I had a home that was a purchase that was contingent upon another family moving to a property in Texas, which was contingent upon this family moving in a property in Virginia, which was contingent upon this family moving.
Yeah.
And it literally, there was about 10 families, and the guy bought a car and didn't qualify.
Oh my gosh.
And what happened was, for a brief point in time, they didn't qualify. All of those families were contingent, and they were going through this whole process of moving states.
Oh my gosh, man.
And it all stopped. Everyone got stuck in their tracks because this person messed up. And so fortunately, we were able to get a co-signer, add on somebody else to utilize their income to leverage out the debt to income and make them qualified again. But for a short period of time, there's about, I want to say, 8 to 10 families that were homeless.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
For like 4 or 5 days. And you want to talk about losing hair?
Yeah, dude.
Oh my.
Is that why you're balding
gray?
a little bit?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll share one that we can both relate on. I mean, we won't mention any names or anything, but we did have an opportunity once where we literally got an offer accepted. We got an offer accepted so quickly. It was like a 5-hour turnaround. Property, saw it, was amazing. Everything was great. And this comes back to a huge point I tried to make with buyers, which is always be honest. Be honest about your finances.
Yes.
Lenders are on your side. We're working with you. We want you to get that house. Because let's be honest, elephant in the room, we only get paid if you get into the house. Right. And best part about being a buyer is you're not going to pay us a dime. But that being said, be honest with your finances. We had a situation. We were ready to go. Offer was accepted. We went into escrow.
Yes.
Day one. And because there was a neglect to share a certain debt, that whole escrow was thrown into the garbage.
The debt was there. This gentleman stated that he would pay it off, and then it turned out he didn't want to pay it off.
Right.
And
it is what it is. So
be careful.
It was close because honestly, in the real estate world, there are contracts, and we are liable.
Yes.
And more importantly, our clients are liable.
Exactly.
So you got to make sure you're always honest. That's the horror story. That's all the time we got. Make sure you guys please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I hope you're liking the content. If you have any questions about investing, go ahead. You can make sure you can reach out to us anytime. We're happy to answer your questions. We've got Instagram accounts you can follow. We post stuff like this and information like this all the time. So give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and other than that, we hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Take care.